The nostalgia critic.
Beautiful day.
Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Oh, dude, I had it on just chatting the entire time already. Oops. That's fine.
Sun is shining.
Yeah, dumb of me, but
roaming about. The birds are chirping. This is the perfect
and
day to
that
stay
is
inside
not
and
capturing.
Watch a bunch of nostalgia critic.
Hello.
Let's try that again.
What a beautiful day.
There we go.
The sun is shining. Cats are roaming about. The birds are chirping. This is the perfect day to stay inside and watch a bunch of nostalgia critic.
Hello, I'm the nostalgia critic. I remember it so you don't have to.
Two things in particular. To boldly flee, which is an internet video he calls a film.
I used to
and
love nostalgia
also
critics so
a
much.
trivia show that he crowdfunded.
I'm Doug Walker. You might know me as star, editor, writer, and director of such shows as The Nostalgia Critic.
When I was younger, I did watch Nostalgia Critic and Bomb Reviews and Ask. It was called something like that. And
There's so much
that
content
material
too. It's just
probably
like
had an
you watch
impact
this
on
all
me as a
day.
young man, and shaped the person I grew up to be. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Heads up, America.
Well, plus there was the AVGN tie-in.
So Doug Walker made To Boldly Flee. He announced the end of the Nostalgia Critic, and he.
It's not even like
raised
the
money
bad.
to
Old
make
stuff isn't
this.
bad either.
There's
Like
many
I
shows
like
we're
nostalgia
currently
critics
working on
old
right
stuff.
now. One of them could use your help. And by help, I mean money.
For his new show, he needed $50,000. That was his goal. He got $89,757. For $10, you get a
And there's a lot of
thank you.
cool people to come out of Channel
For
Awesome
$25,
over the
you get
years.
an autographed photo. $200, you get a voicemail greeting. Doug will record a voicemail greeting, a Skype call with Doug and Rob for $500. Holy sh! Screen your show. Doug and Rob will screen your video series and give you some tips and pointers for
Oh my
a
God.
Skype call for $750.
It's so
For
weird even seeing
$1,500,
Skype in
you
a
get
like
tour of the studio
reward these
and
days.
take home a copy of every
This is
DVD
almost 10
CD
years ago now,
in the
though.
store thus far. Watch Doug
This,
film
like,
an
era,
episode of
this
the
YouTube
Nostalgia
era.
Critic and take home a copy of every DVD CD we have.
As weird as it
lunch with
is,
Doug and
it's so
Rob.
strange to
Take
think
home
about
a
it.
copy of every DVD CD we have sold in the store. For $6,500, appear as a character in Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah, when they talk about Doug, like when they do the Doug Walker impressions, I love it.
Plus, you'll get a copy of every DVD CD we have sold
He's,
in
like,
the store
screaming.
thus far.
We have stretch goals.
Which you can see below. All of them dedicated to getting you even more shows. One of the next ones being a video game show.
Lies. Lies. These are all lies.
Video game show. It probably won't be called that.
He's just talking out of his ass.
It's not quite finished yet. We've been working hard to collect costumes, props, and all sorts of goodies to make more productions.
He's so vague about everything.
What
he
the
keeps
fuck?
saying, we're gonna use the money to make productions.
And once we put that money to good use, we'll continue to bring you productions and shows your way. Most important of all, once we get the money and the equipment to get the productions we need going, we're gonna open up this place to other productions. Their productions, whether it be online or I don't give a shit what else.
According to the channel,
Imagine living in the green
with the
room that he made.
$89,000 they received. They used $47,767.67 for productions. The leftover money is being used to continue filming Pop Quiz Hot Shot. He says Brad Jones, who plays Cinema Snob, is going to host the show.
The answer is no.
No idea.
That would be Grenada. You said Grenada, it would have so been wrong.
That's why we
That's
got
so.
funding
Brad
and
Jones is
nostalgia
Cinema
expert
Snob,
Brad
right?
Jones to host the show.
My name is synonymous with nostalgia.
Synonymous.
But one thing has eluded me. The game show.
Then there's Miss Stockholm. She has apparently been kidnapped by Brad, and she's locked in the basement with pink fuzzy handcuffs.
Yeah, I've never really watched
opened
any of
down
his
at a
content,
sex
so I don't really know
store.
anything about him.
All of this is totally unnecessary.
Heads up, universe.
It's like the bare minimum of what he needed to do.
That's actually correct.
I've never seen a host look so bored to be there. Hey, Brad, why don't you look up?
Based on Madame Butterfly, what 1990s musical staple featured a helicopter landing on stage? Hint, it's set in Vietnam. It's between this and O Platoon. Between this and O Platoon, the musical. That would be Miss Saigon.
Saigon.
And the score is Max 30, John 230. Looks like I'm gonna have a new friend in the dungeon.
Idiot. He's doing it just like in the movie. He's retracing his steps. All right.
The music is mixed too loud. You cannot hear what he's saying.
You can help him out a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like this time in YouTube though too. It did
This
not
pilot
age well.
episode is also 10 minutes longer than the normal episodes of Pop Quiz Hot Shot.
Are you ready to face off
In my opinion.
against the
My
final
humble
boss,
opinion.
the nostalgia critic?
Okay, I think that's all I need to see.
Love is an open door. Life can be so much more.
Mulan.
Frozen.
He has to point his microphone at them.
That's ancient history. Been there, done.
How is he different? It's in the name. It's the nostalgia.
Hercules.
$90,000, and he has to point the microphone at the guest as they say the answer. Doug clearly loves Disney, and he keeps asking himself questions about it.
So the category is Disney love songs. I'm going to read you a lyric.
I know what's really going on.
Here, the 80s and 90s rule.
When the show actually aired, it was Doug hosting.
But you're my friends now. Yes, you are, and that just makes me so happy because this is what friends do. Please stand up. You have a gun pointing.
So this
at
is
me.
like
It's
a
not very wise.
Kickstarter
It
show.
was interesting in
A
certain
game show he
way,
was
but
trying to do?
I find this interesting because he put everything on the line for this. He ended his most popular show to make this. It's a trivia show that doesn't make any sense.
I'm the nostalgia critic.
Yeah, I've met
and
James a
ever
bunch of
since I was
times. He's
a child,
awesome.
I always wanted to play games, quoting movies and TV.
I'm always surprised how cool he is in real
Present it
life.
like the character of nostalgia critic is a crazy person who
Actually,
kidnaps
honestly,
all these
James
people
is
and makes them contestants in this
really
weird
actually
game show.
way more fun to hang out around than I thought
can take
he would
my
be
friends
from
by force. There will be laughs, trivia.
like
Those
watching his
disturbing
videos and stuff,
cartoons that give
you know, which I've always loved. I
But it
just
makes the
expected
character of
something
nostalgia
completely
critic
different,
so
but
unlikable and weird. I don't
Yeah, in real
understand
life,
why they
he's
did
pretty
it,
fucking awesome.
and why it's even necessary.
He's really chill,
because
too.
Really, it's just a bland game show. All of this extra stuff he adds on top of it doesn't add anything to it.
Joseph, what are you doing? Martha, I swear, it's not what you think.
like this is part of the show
It starts with some kind of game.
that was not at like.
Oh, get the bat nipples off of Batman!
They're out of focus. And then they just do a bunch of questions that make no sense.
Which Tim Burton film featured the lyric, "Just because I cannot see it doesn't mean I can't believe it"?
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Henry Selick directed the movie. The way he asked the question wasn't clear at all. It wasn't specific enough. Then there's a guy, General Anesthetic. Get it? And he just stands there with a gun, threatening to kill the contestants who lose.
Turn. That is going to be there if you do that again. Good?
That's unnecessary. I'm glad you put tons of
Oh my
money into
God.
having a guy just stand there and contribute absolutely nothing to the show.
Critic, go ninja, go.
Ninja Turtles 2.
Incorrect!
Doug's intention was to make this a trivia show, but it was also funny.
What separates this from other game shows? Well, we want to make this one funny.
This isn't funny.
Good for you. You want a cookie?
What a dick. It has a dark sense of humor. The point of the game show is that everything is very friendly and it's like comfort food. You can go on any one of those shows and the host comes out and he's like a very friendly, respectable guy. Hi there, my name is Mr. Whatever and welcome to Family Trivia Night.
It's clever, but it wasn't funny. I expected more out of you, Tom.
No, that's pretty much my life.
Yeah, wow. And you're sad, and you're bringing me in a bad mood.
Oh, but it's a joke.
Shut up.
It's a joke. He's not really mad.
Bringing me in a bad
I don't know,
mood.
He looks pretty pissed to me.
Yeah.
I have a rope in my car, but that has nothing to do with guns.
Of course not. God, I am so glad I got to you before you got to me.
And he made the same joke again. Oh, you grew up in the car. I'm glad I got to you before you got to me. He made the joke already.
I haven't taken your eyes. Yes. In which Monty Python film did John Cleese shout, "I say you're the Messiah, Lord, and I should know I follow a few"?
These questions suck.
Yeah, Red Letter Media is great, but The circle jerk just is too much sometimes
I am
with
so shocked you didn't kidnap me.
You made
everybody.
that joke already.
Somewhere
Like, they're
this
just as
guy
fallible as
switched
anybody
around.
else,
You should clearly
too.
be kidnapping me. I've never heard a Popeye
And their
fan
like
more
reviews
dedicated.
are sometimes
And
not as
story,
great.
but good for you, man. Nicely done. Nicely
But there's
done. No
so much
problem.
just circle jerk
I'm
around
glad
it
I kidnapped
sometimes.
you two because clearly you would be kidnapping other people with stories like this. Finish this Kevin Spacey line. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was. You're tearing me apart, devil. Good guess. And you know what? Give it to him because that movie would have been so much better if they had that line. Give him that.
What? That didn't make you laugh.
If the contestant does not know the answer, but can make the nostalgia critic laugh, 10 points are still given.
Hey, you know, that movie should have had that line.
What Steven Spielberg movie had the line, "We seem to have reached the age where life stops giving us things and starts taking them away"?
Batman Begins.
The classic Steven
He
Spielberg.
just
you know what?
keeps
Yeah,
doing
give
the
him a
same
point for
voice.
that.
That wasn't funny. That wasn't a good answer. But who cares? Just who cares? Give him 10 points.
It was a totally different movie with that line. No, actually, it was as good as it gets.
You make me want to scream.
Again, a very different movie if he would have said that.
You made that same joke 2 times already.
Yes, and my last name is Beverage, and no one ever, it's spelled differently, but no one ever believes that.
How do you spell beverage differently?
Silent Q.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with any like
differently.
In what
camp
action film
of
does Steve Buscemi
like
say, "Define
people that
irony, a
review
bunch of
things
idiots
like
dancing on a plane to a song made famous by a band that died
the
in
people
a
who
plane
really
crash."
like them just immediately regurgitate all their points of view, so it becomes like obnoxious at a certain point.
Man, it would be a totally different movie with a... Yeah, it would be.
In American Beauty, which actor said, "Look at me, jerking off in the shower"?
Look at me, jerking off in the shower.
Jesus Christ. You have to dress up and talk like Popeye for round 2. Name the Star Wars character who said, "It's an older code, sir, but it checks out."
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No, it's actually Admiral Piet.
Yeah, I didn't know that one. He just picked an obscure character.
I knew
so
that
to make
one.
fun
I'm
of the
sorry.
name instead of writing a question, that was good.
Like there definitely is an in
Like the fact
between
that
where
somebody
like,
decided,
you
"Hey,
know,
this character
if
seems to
you
be
are
deep.
super
Let's go with this
dorky,
together."
you're gonna appreciate some of that content
Stay in
too.
the
So
microphone and ask the question.
I even disagree with like, you know, with some of what Ralph is saying, but this video is funny as hell.
Nicely done, nicely done. Let me give you a hug. That's just amazing. I love
But I
that.
could sit there and watch a nostalgia critic video without exploding to flames. You know what I mean? I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like there's some
You know what?
entertainment
I'm
quality
giving
to all
you 10 points for
his
that simply
content.
Because I think we should make.
I think that goes for anybody, really. You
Final
know what I mean?
round, the winner has to face off with
That's why
nostalgia
that
critic.
they have a
If you win,
following.
You'll be able to get this.
A new car model that you can build yourself, as well as a
Yeah, the wall is so bad.
$100? $100 is not worth this amount of public humiliation.
Spaceballs.
But it always becomes a point of contention when someone's like, "Oh, I hate X content creator. Have you heard of these X content creators?" It's like
Close.
you're just trading one thing for the other, dude. Like such just as cringe as
Today's theme is
as
Star
the one
Wars
before it,
quotes. In
man.
my experience, there is no such thing as luck.
Han Solo.
Incorrect.
But yeah, it's all in
It's
good
a
fun.
trap.
This guy, General Akbar.
How do you not know Admiral Akbar?
Nicely done. You walk out of here with your life, but on the plus side, I think the police are gonna be looking for you soon anyway.
He's out of focus. The police are gonna be looking for you soon anyway. He keeps asking questions about the same movies.
Finish this.
And
line
obviously,
from Full Metal Jacket.
you know,
For
as a
instance, there
streamer
are so many
and quote unquote
questions about the
entertainer,
film
like I don't have a lot of room to
According to Gunnery
to
Sergeant
criticize
Hartman
because
in
all
Full
my
Metal
fucking
Jacket,
bits
only
are
two things come from Texas.
repeated ad
Can we
nauseum.
say it online?
But you know, anyone can say what they want to say.
My dick and my balls.
You are quite the enigma, Shader. You are a fascinating specimen that I am giving 10 points to.
At his worst, he just gets stuff wrong.
Name the Christopher Nolan film that had the line, "I can't remember to forget you."
I was going to say The Prestige, but I'm not sure if that's.
I can't remember where this other guy is from.
And
I've seen
it's
him
not a
before.
Christopher Nolan film, so to that.
Yeah, it is.
Come on, you don't know The Prestige is a Christopher Nolan movie?
You're right. Let me try that again. Oh, hey, who kidnapped who here? Okay? Okay?
And it depends on the day of the week too, though. You know what I mean? Like
I'll go. There's a man with
there
a
are
gun right
days
next
where
to you
I
right now.
don't want to
you
watch
worry.
certain things. It's like this is not the day to watch this for me.
That, 'cause you know what? If he gets out here,
You have to be in the right mood
kill him anyway.
to watch certain things. Especially
You showed
YouTube
up on
content.
your, contestant there a little bit, Doug.
You know I like you.
Oh, really, Doug? You like me?
Like, I'm sure everyone, like, you'll go through a week where you only are watching this one thing. You know what I mean? Or you, like, work your way through
So I'm gonna give you the 10 points for that.
a channel or whatever.
Tarantino film that was
You
a
know
satire
what
of
I'm saying.
Tarantino film, even before he became Tarantino.
What's even the joke, Doug? The joke.
I love that part.
Tarantino movie before Tarantino became Tarantino. I don't even know what to say.
We will see you next time. on Pop Quiz Hot
That's what's lame about Nostalgia Critic.
Are you
When
ready,
he says shit like that.
Go get the cod piece inside David
What the
Bowie's
fuck
pants.
is this?
To skip the opening.
Welcome back to Ow My Balls. I can tell why that man has a silver balls to cover up the fact that his balls are probably blue, and that's some sort of medicated lotion that he puts.
Your butthead?
David Bowie's such a fucking cultural punching bag for so long.
That's just,
Give it
just
to him.
seeing Hugh Jackman with his sideburns go.
I saw
"Butthead." I
David
just-
Bowie as the
funny.
butt of more jokes
episodes,
growing up than I
he's
like
made
knew
the
about him
same
as an
exact
artist.
joke
It's fucking
100
hilarious.
times.
I would have loved if you said Teen Spirit. No, it's actually there's something about Mary, but by God, wouldn't that be amazing if he said as Goliath in Madagascar?
It wasn't until like
some
my
of the
late
core
teens until I
problems
like
with the
heard his actual music. I
Compared to
think.
other trivia shows, the budget seems very limited. The questions aren't good. The rules are really complicated for no reason. There's this whole thing called spazzies.
Look out for the spazzy.
So this shot
Yeah,
of the
those I hate
contestant
those.
is completely out of focus.
Mr. Smithers. Incorrect.
And they had to write in some stupid joke about how they wanted his shot to look bad on purpose.
Minion, are you
What the fuck?
Yes. Chief, are you ready?
I was born ready.
It looks terrible, and it's distracting from the point of the show, which is just to answer questions.
Critic requested no favoritism in these establishing shots. What? Who was
the character that said that's a lot of fish in the 1998 Godzilla classic?
That's just a joke from a Nostalgia Critic video.
What? That's a lot of fish. Robert De Niro said, I'll make him an offer he can't refuse in what movie?
The Godfather?
No, it is actually Godfather Part 2.
Trick question.
Come on.
Send a video via YouTube stating your name, age, and why you think you would be a good contestant.
Hi, my name's Ralph Seppi. I think I would be a great contestant for Pop Quiz Hot Shot, and I'll tell you why. Cause I love film. Also, I'll suck Doug's cock.
Go find Robert Downey Jr.'s career at the bottom of the cocaine.
Yeah, I think he's doing it on purpose,
not
though,
funny,
kind of.
So distasteful, so pointless. It's just pointless.
Is that even a film? What are you? You know, I'm gonna give you those points because if they ever did make a Monster Squad 2, that would be the title under it. You do a really, really good Chris Rock impression.
I mean, I don't mean the Brett. You gotta catch me on the right day.
The impressions on this show are really good.
Like, I totally can, man. It's really quite easy. Was that Shaggy or was your voice really breaking there? I remember when Keanu Reeves said that, yes, I'll be taking these Huggies, whatever cash you got.
Is putting paper bags over their heads a requirement?
I'm giving you 10 points for that. You know what? I want you to answer all the following questions like Chris Rock. Like I said, proud and ashamed to be white. Whenever I hear it.
Come on, what is that?
Which movie featured the way harsh insult, you're a virgin who can't drive?
Your autobiography?
From what Spielberg movie is this line from? Stern, if this fact is ever produced...
Right there, it's obvious what the answer is.
Schindler's List.
Really? A guy dresses like that? You don't know all these movies, but you know Schindler's List? What kind of childhood did you have?
What are you talking about?
None of your business.
Don't ask, don't tell. Chris, really? Dorothy? His brains was in there.
And he just continues to go after him.
Brains! He has no brains! Much like you! Right now! Wearing that... Are you hot in that? Okay.
It's not funny.
Herself in the mirror?
Wow. That definitely deserves 10 points right there.
$150 this time. All right, it's going up. And then Nostalgia Critic wins.
Oh, yes!
The prize money is $150 because the contestant from last time lost. His money goes to the next contestant that wins. Then Doug just pockets 50. All of this money and barely any of it went to the contestants. Big Lebowski edition? So this entire episode is just Big Lebowski questions.
Yeah, you should be sorry. You will be sorry. Okay.
And they still get most of them wrong. General Anesthetic is just in a t-shirt now and he has a vest on. He's off to like the corner of the frame.
Finish this line from when Walter bashes the sports car in. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when...
You fuck with strangers.
That is not right!
What?
It's when you had to go even more vulgar, when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
What kind of question is that? Get rid of all of the guns and the references to murder and like killing all the contestants.
So, Walter's gonna get his monkey on. Don't do a little skip out of here. Don't dance.
He's already doing like a special episode. It's like the 4th episode of the show. You start doing special episodes like this when you have formula that works and people like, and then you start mixing it up a little bit later on.
Christ.
$200, yeah.
Walter Sobchak.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Maud Lebowski.
Max Delbrook. Oh my god. This is the episode where they have Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy as one of the contestants.
Really?
Prince Albert and I can.
They don't have the foresight to go, no one is going to like this.
Ed?
Punk is nothing but death and crime and the rage of...
And we're back down to $100. There are 11 episodes total.
How could they
of
not
Quiz
do anything with
Shot.
that?
It's actually pathetic how few episodes they made. It's just that a lot of these are the same. They ask
Oh
the
my
questions,
God.
They do the stupid games. It's so repetitive and boring to watch. This is a pretty eventful episode, so we'll skip to this one for now. So now Cinema Snob and another guy are on the show.
You used to be the host of a game show.
I did.
Yeah.
Welcome to Purgatory, asshole.
Yeah, they don't even want to be bagged.
Bag 'em, this is Pop Quiz Hotshot.
It too, General.
I wouldn't either if I was on that show. I'd be like, get that paper bag away from me. You're not putting a paper bag on my head. It's a quiz show. I won $100,000 in court. You put that bag on my head, you motherfucker. Whenever there's a weird answer, he does the same thing. He just gives a look.
Enough whiskey turns any Tim Burton movie into a comedy. You've clearly already stolen his kitchen tiles, so...
You know, I'm
Really? That got an ooh?
He's so pissed that he's getting showed up by his own contestants. Really? You're gonna give that an ooh?
You only get one ooh. Give him the points. In what movie did Christoph Waltz say, I got a bingo?
Inglourious Bastards.
Yes. Would have been great if he's actually said in bingo as well.
You made that joke already.
How'd you even find these two together? Were you dating? Were you dating?
And ooh.
You're not funny and nobody loves you.
Get an ooh for that.
That, tweeners!
I'm giving you the points on that one, my friend, because that would have been a very different movie, though not that different.
We're on episode 8. This is like the 100th time you've used the...
Very different movie if you would have said that. He had like one line. Explosion. I'll give him the points for creativity.
What?
Somehow, there's 50 points between the two of you, and not one of you have actually gotten a right answer yet.
Maybe it's because you give away points for no reason.
You play 12 different instruments. Can you name them all? In 10 seconds?
Handbells, hand
10,
chimes,
9,
piano, French horn,
8,
trumpet,
7,
clarinet, trombone,
6.
guitar.
What the fuck?
Are and always have been 14 years old. The age of consent in many parts of Japan is in fact... Stop it! Stop it! Sex between 13 to 17-year-olds can only be done with other 13 to 17-year-olds. Why did I still put her in the top 11 hottest anime women list?
Looks damn good now, doesn't it?
I watched it, but I didn't really listen to it. I applaud the fact that we all have eyewear on in this episode. That's really weird. That might be the first time.
Would you count this guy's helmet as eyewear? How about the first episode of the show, where they all had glasses on? Do you remember that?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Give him 10 points!
Ernie Mac. Give him the point. Blowjob, so whatever else you prefer in imagination.
Give him 10 points!
Silence! I'm Doug Walker. Jerking off in the shower to a 14-year-old. You did for different reasons.
Give him 10 points!
Damn! I didn't know! I
I'm gonna come. They didn't care about the technical aspects of those 3 videos.
You just had to like put that in there somewhere.
Cassia and Suburban Nights. But Pop Quiz Hotshot was supposed to be a fresh start. I think they were going for something more professional, and they fell on their face.
Discovery Channel documentary.
And after these 11 episodes, it just went away.
Dude, you are not gonna believe this. His house is wiped out. It came from wherever that signal came from.
I never saw any of these movies though.
He's dead.
This is a total waste of time. Okay.
Like, aren't there like 3 of them? I'm not gonna do the too boldly flee part because it's another like half an hour. But I wanted to watch the game show part. Yeah, I didn't even know that they like made those back then. We'll watch those at some point though. He did another video too, the Uncanny Valley one, which is like Doug's like, I don't know, other produced work, I guess you would say. It would destroy you. The thing though. Let's watch. This is another channel we were watching the other night that I just saw for the first time. I'm looking for a good one. There we go.
This video was made in partnership with CuriosityStream.
There we go. What's this, kid? Doug Walker crying. I'm good with that for now.
I've been trying to figure out how to do an ocean tier list or fish tier list for a while now, but the problem is there's just too many potential builds to include in a single video. So what better way to do it than to artificially restrict the scope of the video
like
to the most well-known fictional
Tier
server of all,
Zoo is like
Bikini Bottom. While
I don't
not a
know.
real place, the characters are based on real animals.
You'll see what's
that
happening.
have their own special abilities and signature moves, some of which even affect the plot of individual SpongeBob episodes. So which residents of Bikini Bottom and their real-life counterparts are the best in the current Coral Reef meta? As always, we'll start from the bottom and move up from there. So in F tier, we have the underwater squirrel build. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think squirrels are bottom tier in the arboreal meta. They have one of the highest mobility bonuses in the game in forests, and their teeth deal bonus damage to structures, making them excellent at bending wooden environments to their will, both in forests and suburbs. However, in the reef meta, squirrels are absolutely bottom tier, and this is evidenced by Sandy's many obvious difficulties overcoming pretty basic.
I wonder if this is like his April Fool's video, or just like another
powerful
idea.
Regenerating teeth, while normally a major asset, would actually be a huge liability in an underwater playthrough. Not only are they unable to deal any damage when stuck behind a glass helmet, but regenerating teeth eventually start to deal damage to the player when they go unused for a long time.
What the fuck? I've never seen
So
teeth
Sandy
like
being
that
forced
before
to
in a
wear
squirrel.
suit for most of her playthrough is hugely detrimental. The rest of Sandy's stats are solid, but they're contingent more on her suit than anything else. For example, she's got
That was
really
like,
high defense
Lisa
due to
needs
her armor,
braces.
but a single
Fucking
hit strong enough
scary.
to crack her armor would easily mean game over for her, meaning she essentially has an HP of 1. Her other best stat is that she's got high intelligence, but there are far better intelligence builds to play in the reef meta, so her tier placement remains low. I don't want to waste too much time discussing the underwater squirrel build, since it's the most unrealistic build in Bikini Bottom.
If they don't use them
let's
enough,
move
they
on
get
to
like
D
that?
tier,
That's
where we have
crazy.
the
I've never
ocean
heard that
snail
before.
build. Now, there are ocean snails that I consider high tier, like the cone snails, which have venomous spears.
What?
However, it's pretty clear that Gary is not one of these, and is instead a much more basic jack-of-all-trades style snail. Sea snails have exceptionally high defense levels, but not much else. They're nearly invincible while in their defensive stance, except against players with armor-piercing abilities. But, as we'll see, those abilities aren't uncommon in the reef meta, and as a result, sea snails have bad matchups against much of the rest of this list. In C tier, we have the
Yeah, I would expect
crustaceans,
that.
which seem to comprise a large percentage of the Bikini Bottom player base, including Mr. Krabs, Larry, and Plankton. And yes, Plankton is most likely a type of copepod, which is a small crustacean. All 3 of these take the basic crustacean build and modify it for their own
Really?
specific playstyle. Mr. Krabs sits
He would
pretty
technically
close
be
to
a
the basic
crustacean? I would
build,
not have thought that.
maintaining high defensive stats with relatively low mobility.
Yeah, I
The
guess
crab's
I've
armor is
heard that
great at
before, but I
blocking
just
most
never really
attacks.
like
Although again,
stored it
armor-piercing
properly.
abilities are fairly prevalent in the reef
About the
meta,
teeth.
so it's certainly not a foolproof strategy. The crab's claws, while not as powerful as the lobster's,
Yo, that
are
cat,
still great
though.
at crushing and grabbing other players, something even Mr. Krabs uses to his advantage at times. The lobster is a more offensive take on the crustacean build, having claws that can deal devastating damage in a single.
Honestly, when I see
in the show, we
sea
see
creatures
Larry
like this,
depicted
it
as
just
the
makes me
strongest
hungry.
bikini
I
bottom
just
resident,
want
and
like
I have to
fried
agree,
scallops
in
and
raw
stuff.
power and for his size, he's number one.
That's all I can think
The
of.
copepod, the
Just
creature
eating
that
them.
Plankton is based on, obviously lacks any form of defense and has extremely low HP, being easily defeated by stray blows that weren't even directed at him. The copepod's best stat would be stealth, which helps Plankton in a lot of his efforts to invade enemy bases, but also frequently ends up hurting him when he's trampled on because he was stepped on by a player that didn't detect him. One special ability I don't see mentioned in the show is the copepod's team strategy with the bacterium Vibrio cholera, which causes cholera, a damage over time effect that has scored countless wins against entire settlements of human players. While
Damn.
all three of these rank about the same on my tier list, I think it's safe to say that the lobster would win most frequently in a duel with the other crustaceans. But how about crab versus plankton? Countless times, Mr. Krabs is depicted defeating Plankton in battle, but only once is this battle a legal one rather than a physical one. And while I generally agree with the show's depiction of the physical battles, I can't really comment on how a battle would play out if it took place in a courtroom.
Who is the man in the suit?
I like that guy too.
Tirzu needs me. Objection!
Legal Eagle.
Well, the thing about the crabs versus plankton case is how close it gets to real life.
This is I did not know there was going to be a crossover in
Bar
this.
exam final boss on hard mode in
You turn it up a little bit. It's a little quiet.
God mode in California. See, a restaurant owner like Mr. Crab can be liable to his patrons if he's negligent. Negligence requires four things: a duty between the parties, a breach of that duty, causation between the
Yeah, this is a cool
parties,
crossover. I never would have thought they even knew each other.
is judged on a reasonable person standard, so his lack of a wet floor sign is pretty bad. And a reasonable restaurant owner would probably put out a sign or not have the floor soaking wet.
I like that he started with the
But Krabs
Birdman
doesn't
thing
owe
too.
the same duty to a trespasser
Who's the man in the
wasn't there to buy food.
suit?
He was there to steal the Krabby Patty recipe. Therefore, Mr. Krabs probably didn't owe him a duty and wouldn't be liable to him in negligence, even if Plankton wasn't faking his injuries.
I'm sorry, Graham.
I
I've
go into
never
far more
watched all of
detail on my own
SpongeBob,
channel,
but
where I explain how all of your favorite characters are
Kinda wish I had.
probably breaking the law. Otherwise, you can probably find me playing the MMORPG World of Lawsuits in the professional Anthropocene server Legal Eagle Rules.
Thanks, Legal Eagle. At the bottom of B tier, we have the Starfish build. The Starfish build is one of those builds which spends very little evolution points leveling its stats, instead pouring all of them into extremely unique abilities. Their first ability is their Suction Cups, an ability they share with the Cephalopod faction. This gives them an extremely strong grip, granting them almost total immunity to knockback moves.
I would have
and
thought
making their
Starfish
own
would have
grab
been way
attacks
at the bottom.
borderline impossible to mash out of.
Yeah,
That
Birdman's
second
great if
effect
you like
combos nicely into their
old
second ability,
Hanna-Barbera
their
cartoons
extendable
and stuff.
stomach. This unique acid-based grapple attack deals devastating damage to anything it succeeds in catching. It bypasses armor and can defeat enemies far larger than the Starfish given enough time. However, it's got a lot of startup lag, so the Starfish needs
apparently
to make sure it's
Starfish
got a
are
secure
insane.
grip
I
on the
didn't-
target. This ability makes the Starfish one of the best anti-tank builds in the game, since they can pry open the armor of builds like the Clam and Scallop, and then inflict toxic damage, basically melting them from the inside with acid.
Oh yeah, I
The
forgot about
Starfish's final
that.
and perhaps most impressive ability is their HP regeneration, which is
Dude, have you guys seen the comics? Like the fucking weird Junji Ito ripoff that someone has made of like Patrick digesting all his friends and stuff like that? What the fuck is what is it? What is this? Is there like a name for that? Is it Bikini Bottom Horror Show? What the fuck is it? Is it it's like Patrick digesting things with his stomach and enzymes.
stronger than any other health regen perk in the entire game,
That's-
being able to completely
it's,
regenerate their HP from
outside
attacks that
the
would
body.
spell game over for most other builds. As impressive as the Starfish's abilities are, its stats leave a lot to be desired, having an intelligence level near 0 and a mobility level on par with that of a snail. But in the right player's hands, the Starfish build can go much further than you might
What?
expect. Next on the tier list is
That's
the Sponge
fucking
build,
scary.
the easiest creature to play in the
Like if
entire
80 fucking
Okay, so I'm not
starfish
gonna
just
lie,
attacking.
I'm not a fan of the Sponge build, since
Fuck
it's a build
that.
catered towards the playstyle of literally AFKing. Sponges gain XP by filter
Okay.
feeding, and thus
That does not look real. That looks like Subnautica.
don't require any decision making or active attention at all to do well. Sponges have a mobility, attack, stealth, and intelligence stat of 0. They don't move, hunt, think, or hide from their enemies.
It's a
They just
die
sit
to
there
show.
and
Oh my
accumulate
god!
free
I was
XP
like,
from
what
debris
is
in the
happening?
water. Since they have zero ability to react to attacks from enemy players, you'd think they would be easy pickings for everyone, and not fare well at all in the current meta.
Like a fucking
Normally this would be
Pokemon.
the case, however sponges are worth negative XP to most other builds, because they've incorporated tiny shards of glass into their bodies that damage players trying to feed on them.
I didn't know that.
Some sponges also have an AoE toxic debuff active, lowering the incentive to attack them even further. Some builds, like the Sea Turtle, have resistance to these sorts of countermeasures, and can derive some benefit from attacking sea sponges. But even then, their efforts are better spent on more high-value targets, like jellyfish, snails, and seaweed. So in summary, sponges are upper mid-tier because they simply aren't worth the effort to fight.
Interesting.
And their ease of gameplay means they pretty much always succeed in the Reef meta. Not exactly a build I'm excited to sing the praises of, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't fairly assess them. In A tier, we've got the Octopus build. The Octopus is a hybrid between a stealth-based build and an intelligence-based one, having exceptionally high levels in both stats. They've got the shapeshift and color change ability that lets them get the camouflage stealth bonus in just about any environment. And their
There might
intelligence
be a
lets them
Muppet one, I
solve
don't know.
problems using tools and learn new skills by observation. Disappointingly, in the show, Squidward isn't really shown to use the color change ability much. Another thing not shown
Yeah, you
in the
got it
show
right, I
is that
guess. I
every
didn't know
octopus
Squidward
is at
wasn't
least
a
somewhat
squid,
venomous.
technically.
Venom is
I
a
guess you're
powerful
right, though. He
tool
does
for
look like
taking
an
down prey,
octopus.
and
His
since
head
even
and
a single
stuff.
bite can deal the venom effect for massive damage, venom is also quite effective for
Let's do
pressuring
that, shark.
attackers to steer clear. Their suction cups give them a powerful grip, and to be perfectly honest, the octopus is essentially a superior version of the starfish. In addition to having suction cups, multiple arms, regenerative abilities, and venom, the octopus build also gets access to tons of high-level abilities like tool use, shapeshift, and inkjet. The starfish does have one advantage over cephalopods, in that its lifespan is significantly longer. The top tier resident of Bikini Bottom is... The pufferfish build is a variant on the basic fish class that spends all of its points unlocking not one, but two separate
that's pretty
high-level
well
defensive
edited.
abilities, and one offensive ability. Those being the Spike Ball and Neurotoxin on defense, and Armor-Piercing Beak on offense. The Spike Ball ability deals damage to the attacker whenever they connect a physical strike on you, and switching to the ball stance also makes bite and grab attacks less accurate against you. This ability is great for countering most of the common threats in the Reef meta, and its only drawback is that it reduces the pufferfish's speed while it's active.
Don't
The
do
pufferfish
it,
build
Otter.
doesn't really care about losing speed, since it doesn't really rely on speed for escaping or attacking, so it's a great trade. Its second defensive ability, Neurotoxin, ensures that builds in higher weight classes can't just swallow it whole without risk too. The Neurotoxin would paralyze any player who actually managed to get past its first line of defense. Honestly, having two separate measures of defense is a bit overkill, but considering the pufferfish manages to also have a solid offensive capability too, I won't knock it too much. Speaking of, the pufferfish is another extremely effective tank buster build. It has teeth that absolutely destroy armor, meaning defensive builds like the clam, crab, and snail get demolished in matchups against the pufferfish. This
Damn.
impressive blend of defense and offense makes the pufferfish one of the best fish builds in the game in my opinion, and easily the top tier of Bikini Bottom. It's no wonder Mrs. Puff is shown bodying basically everyone in the show. Hopefully now you've got a good understanding of the Bikini Bottom meta. Also, I hope you like collaborations like this, because a bunch of creators and I have collaborated on an absolutely massive project,
Nice.
a brand new platform called Nebula.
What year is this? 2019? Pretty sure that didn't do too well then. Yeah, he's got a couple other tier lists. Tree tier list, dinosaur. What else? Dog tier list. Cat tier list. Those are older though. I guess that's all right. It's fairly short.
Right, so in my video on dinosaur builds, I casually referenced the fact that cheetahs are low tier, which ended with me getting a ton of comments from angry cheetah mains asking me to explain myself. And fair enough.
No, new platform would be great.
But
Just-
instead of just making a video on cheetahs, I
I
figured
can think
I
of
would
like half a dozen times where it's been
by
like
also finally
a
releasing
project
tier lists for
that
the cat dynasty.
was a thing and just
First,
nothing ever
let's
happened
talk
with
about
it.
the place cats as a whole are at in the meta. So I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that cats are exceptionally effective builds that have held a high tier spot in the meta for more than a while. And though this isn't true of every cat build, of which there are more than 40, cats carved out their spot in the meta by being the best choice by far for anyone looking to play an assassin or rogue class. Their weapons and movement kit are carefully crafted to allow cat players to have an easier time scoring critical hits on their targets than most other carnivore players. Like I said, there are more than 40 different builds possible, so I can't really fit them all into a single video, so instead I'm going to go over the most popular ones, and hopefully the way I analyze them will help you make your own call if you're interested in one of the less popular.
The twang.
So anyways, I'm going to start from the bottom of the tier list and go up from there.
Was one of
Right
those
at the bottom,
cat genuses named Feline Margarita? Did you see that?
any land build, which is definitely an impressive title to hold.
I don't think a margarita
When it
with
comes to
cat hair in
scoring
it.
kills on builds with high mobility like gazelles, antelope, and ostriches, there are a few better at it than the cheetah. But while this works against those particular targets in that particular situation, it serves no purpose when it comes to actually defending the kill. And as a result, a high percentage of the kills a cheetah gets end up getting stolen by lions and hyenas. Cheetahs need higher power and defense stats to actually be able to reap the benefits of their high mobility. The cheetah's inability to defend itself makes the early game extremely difficult for new cheetah players too. High-level players can't prevent stronger builds from griefing the new cheetah players, and as a result, very few cheetahs even reach the late game where they can abuse their high mobility stat. Long story short, F tier because they get bodied way too hard by competing builds. In D tier, we've got the Lynx. I don't have too much to say.
The Lynx is D tier? Damn.
Low-medium stats across the board with the exception of stealth.
That would have been higher up.
And they do possess one relatively useful ability, the ability to move silently through snow. They're best at taking out small prey using stealth, but in my opinion, there are better choices for this type of playstyle, such as the owl or the viper. While they don't get griefed nearly as badly as cheetahs, they do have to watch out for cougars, wolves, and coyotes. One level higher and we reach the cougar. While its stealth is actually a bit lower than the lynx's, all other stats are a good bit higher, especially strength. However, it's not quite strong enough to overpower predators like deer and elk without putting itself at risk for taking damage too. While it can
Getting
climb pretty
bodied
well,
by that
it's
thing.
most comfortable duking it out on the ground. I've never discussed troll builds on this channel, but honestly the trolling potential with cougars is too good not to mention. Cougars lack access to the roar.
Where do cougars even really
That doesn't
live?
stop them from flying. And
Like
as a
more
result, they have one of the
western
craziest battle
United
cries in the
States?
game. Instead of actually being useful as an intimidating sonic AoE, it instead sounds almost exactly like a woman being brutally murdered, which is one of the few ways to seriously mess with human players that invade their territory.
Whatever city Sex in the City took place in? Oh my god.
There are two
Yeah, that's
major
pretty
styles
scary.
players opt for when going for a cat build, the feline style and the panther style. All of the builds so far have been in the feline style, which
Yeah, all over the
generally has
place.
higher mobility but lower
I feel like I
speed.
usually hear about mountain
The
lions
panther
before I hear
style
about
cats, on the other hand, are
cougars.
Stronger, bulkier, and also have access to the panther signature move, roar. So we're finally
That's a
gonna
pretty
switch
scary
gears over to
sound.
Panther builds as we continue up the tier list. The leopard build is the next rung up on the tier list, being Africa's
Is a cougar
premier
really the
solo
same thing as a mountain lion, really?
Of the panther style builds, this is
Thought
the
that they're
smallest.
different.
This offers the leopard players maximum mobility while climbing, a trait they use to the fullest. While it is definitely
Wrapped
stronger than
up.
the cheetah, it is still no match for gank squads like lions and hyenas. But unlike the cheetah, leopards actually have a way to avoid getting their kills stolen. Leopards can climb much better than any of their competitors, and they do have high enough strength to carry their kill up the tree. This allows them to gain all of the XP they deserve. All these traits together are in the leopard high B tier. Now we're at A tier, and this is where the tier list gets a little muddy, since we've only got 2 tiers left to place quite a few more builds. If I'm being honest, even though I placed leopards in B tier,
I think the
smaller
bobcat might be
players
with the
with their
lynx.
extra
I don't
stealth
know.
bonus have a strong argument for A tier. Anyways, at the bottom of A tier, we have the largest of the cats, the tiger. Not many unique abilities, but generally just very high stats. While tigers do have decent stealth, they rely more on their sheer power for winning fights. This allows them to take out tough and dangerous players like the boar. One top tier ability they do have is their incredibly powerful jump, making them deceptively mobile
Jeez.
while appearing to have only average speed. Overall, if the
Just
tier list
jumps out of the
was simply
fucking
about who
fence.
would win in a one-on-one fight, tigers would be S tier, no doubt. Unfortunately, that isn't the case, because even though they'd lose in a one-on-one fight with a tiger, lions are undoubtedly more viable overall. If you watch my videos a lot, you know I see coordinated attacks as one of the most overpowered strats in the whole game, and lions are basically the poster child for coordinated attacks. So far, most of the other cats we've talked about all generally target players playing squishy targets, but lion players are some of the only ones bold enough to deliberately attack a tank.
Jeez.
Their highly organized parties they form allow them to control entire sections of the map, and their defined roles prevent leeching and also protect newer players from gankers. All in all, great build. Easy.
So what the hell is S gonna be then?
And finally, we've reached the top tier, the build that embodies everything excellent about the cat dynasty, the Jaguar.
Huh.
Jaguars are the absolute best build in the entire game when it comes to one-shotting players with a critical hit. They have the most damaging bite of any of the cats, enough to pierce armor, and their incredible accuracy lets them nail their
The
targets
video is
right
as
in
loud
the
as it can be, unfortunately.
They may not have the raw stats that the lion and tiger
Might
do,
work.
but they more than make up for it with their special abilities. The most important
The Jaguar
are their
only-
incredible eyes, which negate all stealth bonuses. Most cats have great vision and can even see
American?
in darkness, but the
Or is in
Jaguar
Africa,
can even
too?
see a target obscured by camouflage or hiding in murky water. The second, less obvious perk is that Jaguars are the most versatile cat build available. They're
I mean, I
great
thought it was only,
sprinters and
like-
pristine climbers, but they're
Never
also
heard of
just as much
Jaguar
at home
in
hunting in the water as
Africa,
they are in a
right?
tree. No other build can boast dominance in the arboreal, terrestrial, and aquatic map zones. They really do dominate. Lions act like they own the place, but they do face plenty of competition. But Jaguars, they do own the
Yeah, I don't really hear a lot about Jaguars,
They could
honestly.
carry their food up a tree if they wanted to, but there's no need. So yeah, a build that can one-shot anything on its server and dominates 3 of the 4 main play zones. That's your S tier.
I thought it was gonna be like cats,
There you
like
have it.
which breed is coolest, not like which breed kills everything the best.
Did I forget something? Yeah, you buggers are getting your own video.
Funny. Alright. Do they though? I think he just changed the way that thumbnail looks. But yeah, he's got a lot of great videos. Did he actually do a breed? I thought he did. Yeah, he's got some different ones. Oh yeah, there it is. Ish. Do something else though. Let's do something different. Let's do a weird video. What do we got here? Yeah, dip into some Watcher. I haven't watched one of these in a minute. Well, I guess I was talking about the new Conjuring movie earlier. I think this goes along with it.
This video contains content that some might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disturbing.
The human body is a strange thing. Our skin constantly sheds. Our noses are slimy. Our mouths and reproductive organs host disease and bacteria. Our seeming inability to be completely comfortable with our bodies is a terror that is exclusive to our species, which makes it all the more horrifying when something inhuman can manipulate that fear. I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it until the end. The devil that lives inside me.
The devil.
This episode of Are You Scared is sponsored by Vessi. Vessi is a shoe company that is taking over the
fuck is-
waterproof shoe market.
Oh, dude, I
By
need some
waterproof,
waterproof
I mean
shoes.
sustainer to get.
I'm always
The
stepping in
murmuring
water and
started
I'm like,
about a week ago.
fuck.
Around the same
Fuck.
time I found the lump on my temple. There was some correlation between the two. That much was obvious. I was making breakfast when the low murmur I'd been hearing finally coalesced into a voice. Good morning, it said. The sound was high and scratchy, like a passing car playing AM radio.
Why is he pixelized?
I stood entirely still while my egg sizzled on the stove. Hello? I spoke aloud to an empty kitchen. Your breakfast smells great, the voice replied cheerfully. I am the devil, and I'm going to eat your fucking eyes.
Damn, got him.
What a very polite voice. Took a turn.
Took a turn. He's going to eat his fucking eyes.
I guess, honestly, if it's a toss-up between getting something shoved into your eye and having it sucked out, pop one out.
Yeah, but if you suck the eye out, then you have the little cord at the back of your eye.
Oh, it's like when you get like a deep booger.
Yeah, yeah.
And you blow it, and then it pulls, and you can feel it tugging on like your frontal lobe.
Yeah,
a
you
little
could
bit.
feel it
You're
just
like,
connected to your
"Oh!"
brainstem. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Probably what it feels like to get your eye pulled out by the devil.
We'll see. I dropped my spatula. Could you repeat that? I asked, pulling my bathrobe tight against a sudden chill. About your breakfast or the other part? The other part. The voice confirmed that it was the devil and reiterated its plans for my eyes.
The devil.
It also told me its name was Pedro. Deviling was its occupation. It had been whispering to me for years and was surprised I finally heard it. It thought I should get the lump on my temple checked out.
Wait, I got a question. Pedro the devil says, I'm going to eat your eyeballs or your balls. Which ones are you giving up?
I think the testes got to go.
Yeah, me too.
Why?
Yeah, Testicle Tuesday, no more.
What is Testicle Tuesday?
Would you like to know?
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's just a self-care day.
Okay, that's why you always block off Tuesday
That's
on your
true.
calendar.
It's got to be to polish the boys. You know what I mean? Get those babies pristine.
The way
After I
he knew
finish
where the
throwing up
camera
in the
was.
bathroom,
He looked
existential
at
dread
that
always has a way of making me nauseous. I examined the lump. It was roughly the size of a marble, firm to the touch and paler than the skin around it.
Oh, this is gonna be gross.
There was
isn't
no
it?
pain, though the voice did seem to increase in volume when I poked at it.
I hate
At
stories like
point,
this.
The voice, Pedro, I guess, was singing show tunes.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind a little person in my head singing show tunes all day. That's pretty much what my brain does anyway.
Yeah.
So it's, kind of business as usual.
Get a
for
little
me.
harmony going.
I mean, everyone's singing voice always sounds better in their head than it does in reality.
I mean, I disagree. I mean, not everybody.
As in you think you have a lovely singing voice?
Yeah, I do. I'll own that.
Oh, that was not an invitation, but go ahead and take it. I was going to say that would be copyright, but I don't think they'll even come after you for how poorly that's being sung.
You're nasty. Come on, finish the story.
I felt something lick the back of my left eyeball.
Shane
I
is just
screamed,
dressed like he's gonna
and the
go
voice
like
stopped.
live in a lighthouse for
a little
the
erotic.
next week.
What? To the way I described it, or just the premise in general makes
Just
you...
the thought of it, it might be painful, but at the same time, what if you're like, ooh, just awaken something?
This is on Watcher. It's
My
called
morning went downhill from there.
Are You Scared?
I gave
and
up on
then
breakfast,
comma
feeding
whatever
my
the subject
half-fried
is.
egg to the trash can. Instead,
The guys
I
from
tried to drink the world back to being
BuzzFeed
rational,
Unsolved, and
first
they have
with
their own
wine,
channel now.
then with rum. All I
Sorry, I can
accomplished
talk.
was getting pissed drunk by 11 a.m. Literally pissed drunk. I couldn't stumble to the bathroom in time, so I ended up relieving myself in a collection of dying succulents and cacti that decorate my living room.
Yeah.
The voice stayed quiet while I was on my bender, but it was a fragile silence. I got the impression it was waiting for its turn to speak. I relished the quiet. The hangover I was barreling toward would be worth the Pedro-free moments. Have you ever not been able to make it to the bathroom in time?
I did pee on a wall once.
You write your name in it?
No, I was on an L in Chicago, and I was out with some friends, and it was a long ride, and I got off, and I started peeing on a wall, and then lights went on behind me, and it was a policeman, and I was like, whoa, and I ran around the corner.
Did you put Mr. Wee Wee back in the pants before you did that, or was he out?
He was on his way.
So when you turned around to face the
Dude,
police
Ryan
officer,
always
I don't
has
know
some
what they
fucking
saw.
weird shit he
After a
calls
drunken
fucking
nap,
cocks and
however,
stuff.
Pedro returned.
Mr. Wee Wee.
How are you feeling?
Say Dick,
There's
Ryan.
piss all over the rug, I felt a gentle but horrifying pressure on the back of both of my eyes, as if teeth were resting on the orbs. The enamel hesitated, never breaking the surface, but perched on the cusp of snapping and grinding and chewing. I whimpered. That's disgusting. Could you just imagine right now a light pressure being applied to your eyeballs.
Oh.
Your mom ever do that thing where she like pushes her eyeball in and out like that? Like,
Did your mom never do that? Yeah, all moms have that ability, right?
Oh yeah, I could see. I could see. Wait, hold on. I could do that.
That is freaky, man. Ah.
Hey, shitty boy.
I'm gonna give my mom a call tomorrow. Ask her why she never did that to me growing up. It sounds funny.
But the pressure you feel by doing that, go ahead and do it at home.
Not pleasant.
Is imagine that at the back of your eyeball.
Yeah.
And it feeling like teeth. An invisible tongue somewhere in my skull began
Just mom
licking
things.
from the inside out. Oh, Jesus Christ, please stop, I begged. How's your lump doing? Pedro asked. Gingerly, I pressed at my temple. The lump had split open and was now wet with a greasy, whitish, yellowish liquid. It smelled like a wet dumpster. It's disgusting. I hate like pimple extraction videos. I
Oh my
hate
God,
any
you
kind
should
of
have
like.
seen my carbuncle.
I don't want to see your
Picture me
carbuncle.
just
Stop telling
doubled
me.
over, trying to look at my own ass in the mirror as
Were
I
you doing?
squeezed and
Was this?
squeezed.
Were you with Sarah at this time? Were
No,
you
no,
like,
no, I
"Hey,
was-
Sarah, come look at my ass. It's huge."
No, I actually
the
loathe pimple
fuck?
popping stuff. I don't enjoy it.
Oh,
I'll tend to my own.
yeah.
You know, but I don't want to see people being like, "Check this out, YouTube." You know,
It's
it's gross.
just mayonnaise everywhere. It's disgusting.
Disgusting.
I don't like this. I wiped my hand on my jeans and
Don't
prodded
like
again.
this.
The growth had more than split. It had changed. There were curves and ridges and a small hole in the middle. I pawed at the growth with both hands, trying to confirm what I thought I was feeling. My head had given birth to a third ear. Your fucking eyes, Pedro screamed inside my mind. The volume was staggering, lighting up my nerves like I'd been struck by lightning. I fell off of the couch.
I mean, 3
and curled
years.
up on the floor.
Kamiko, I don't know. Could hear
Thankfully,
more things.
Pedro was silent for the rest of the night. The next morning, I found another ear blossom. It was small, on my left side, just below my rib cage.
Whoa!
That's so
Cool.
That's so gross. It was clearly another tiny ear, about the size of a quarter. Over the next few days, more and more of the lumps sprouted and burst into new ears of various shapes and sizes.
Ma, I got
was
ears.
spotted with them. A chicken pox of new ears. Tiny ears covered both hands. When I pressed my fingers to the wall, I could hear the house shift slightly in the wind and settle on its foundation.
What?
This is disgusting.
That's
Well, I got a
sick.
question for you because I know you're not a fan of tiny little holes all over things.
Tryptophobia. This is
the tryptophobia.
Yeah, this is kind of like trypophobia, which I recently discovered I have because I've always hated looking at like honeycombs
Yeah.
and like the idea of a bunch of little ears on a hand.
It's not pleasant.
First off, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, picking anything up is now gross because there's like little indentation. Ah, God, I hate it. This is Hell's Radio, Pedro told me. Listen.
Hell's
Use your
Radio.
main ears.
It's kind of sick.
All of them. Fields on fields of them. Why is this happening? I asked. Pedro didn't reply. I woke up later that night to the new horrible sensation.
What if
of
you just
teeth
became one
biting my eyes?
big
There was a
ear?
tremendous pressure. Sharp objects jabbing into me from the inside. Wait, I begged. Please stop. Both orbs popped up.
Some more of the
I
horror
knew
shit.
it.
It's disgusting.
I knew we had a couple poppers on our hands.
Dude, so his
so
eyeball,
gross.
his eye
Worth
sockets
addressing
ate his
because I'm
eyeballs.
Curious if these tiny ears are covering his whole body.
Yeah.
Whole body.
Well, I'm going to assume a good amount of it at this point, which is gross.
It's got little.
Oh, little penis ears? Yeah.
Or do you think there's an ear on either side? Look like a little elephant. Pretty funny.
I'm just picturing what a person would look like if they were covered in ears, and it makes me want to fucking throw up. Like, I don't like it at all. Like,
Yeah, it's
I like it's like the Medusa of ears. My vision went black.
I feel like I've
True
seen
black.
that before.
The absolute
Some monster in
absence
some
of
game.
light. Something was chewing on my
I'm
optic
all
nerves,
ears.
ripping and munching on the deflated sacs that I used to use to see. The pain was unbearable. I screamed until I passed out. Unconscious, I dreamed of massive trees with lights dangling from their branches.
Well, that's nice.
In the dream, the sky was starless, save for one bright red dot against the black, like a stab wound hanging in the air. It took me a moment to realize when I'd woken up. There was no more pain, but I was completely blind. Not just blind, eyeless. There was a wet, sticky substance, I assumed blood, leaking from my sockets. I brushed it away with fingers that were now completely covered in small ears.
Yeah, we get it, dude. By the way,
Oh, yeah, I remember that,
they
Carl.
also had small
They do
ears
that to
on them.
Santa, too.
Disgusting.
I just feel like the devil's gotta like clean up his execution here.
Why?
Unless he ties it all together in a neat little lesson, something about having ears all over you, and doesn't that teach you a lesson about how your eyeballs have popped?
When is he a fan of allegories? I don't think he's ever been a fan of like teaching people a lesson.
I think he's poetic.
I think sometimes he just pokes people with a stick because it's funny. They were everywhere now. All sizes, small and large, sprouting from every inch, dragging the sounds of the universe into me like hooks hauling in fish. Noise, any noise, was intolerable. The roar of my own breathing nearly deafened me. My neighbor's television sounded so loud, I started to gag. Birds landing in trees, planes flying through the air. Even the satellites in their orbit, all of it was crystal clear, and all of it was agonizing. I wanted to scream, but I feared a noise that loud would make me pass out. Worst of all was Hell's radio. Pedro made croaking sounds as I crawled across the floor. The rasp of my stomach ears dragging on the carpet was so painful I threw up. I couldn't see the vomit, but judging by the texture, even my puke was filled with ears.
No, it wasn't.
That's fucking gross, dude. He's just throwing up little tiny ears. This is a fucking nightmare.
I gotta say, the person who wrote this is really tapping into something because it has never really occurred to me that ears, they're fucking ugly, dude.
I think Guillermo del Toro once said that, like, the reason why David Cronenberg is so successful as a director is because he's tapped into the idea that humans are innately uncomfortable with our bodies.
Yeah.
And this is the personification of that.
I'd say so, yeah.
Because this is fucking gross.
It's no good.
Ears everywhere, Pedro sang, but not an eye to eat. I can feel Pedro slinking around in my head as I write this final account. He's hungry and loud, licking my brain. His tongue feels like a shower loofah made out of razor blades.
Wow.
It's difficult to type with each fingertip now.
Nice description.
Not being able to see the screen doesn't help either. Instead, I hear the keys as I press them. I can make out the electrons shooting through the wires of my computer, each letter a slightly different frequency. I can almost listen to my story stitching itself together. Hell's radio crackles and flows all around me. When I feel the first teeth nibbling at my gray matter, I open my jaw ears to laugh. Pedro really is just a state of mind.
Jaw ears.
So, are you scared?
No.
This is maybe the first gross out story we've ever read on this show, and I'm grossed out. It's fucking disgusting.
It's great. I mean, if you look at just one ear for 20 minutes, you'll also be grossed out. Ears are
That's
gross.
true.
We gotta lop them off.
Also, a little weird that if the devil was
look too
obsessed
weird
with
without
eating
'em.
eyes, he would make this guy sprout millions of ears. That would be like, oh, I fucking can't get enough of these apples. Let me plant a fucking lemon tree.
It's probably just as annoying to have eyeballs all over your
Yeah,
body.
exactly. I mean, that would be
I
gross.
know, I kinda like
Actually, it
ears.
might be even more gross because it's wet.
Oh, they're wet, yeah.
Your sheets would be real wet
You have
all the
wet
time.
sheets.
You have wet clothes. It would look like you're
Like
leaking
the right
all
ears
time.
on someone can be pleasing.
Disgusting.
It's kind of erotic.
Why does everything go back to erotic?
Of course, they start saying that
This
immediately.
story was written by Travis
After I
Brown.
say
so
that.
Thank you for Travis. Thank you to Travis Brown for writing this story. He also has a short story collection from Valox Books. That link is in the description, and his website is travisbrownwriting.com if you want to check out more. of
Yeah,
his
it was
stories.
not real. It
It was
was
actually true, so heal up, Travis.
That's true. Yeah, he is covered in ears. Careful if you want to shout him out.
clearly not a real story.
He might hear you.
Adam. All right, what would you guys like to watch next? Would you like to watch another spooky thing? A spooky, silly thing? I guess kind of like that. Or a serious, scary thing? What are we thinking? Let me curate your experience. Creepy trail cams. That's kind of cool if it was more like edited. I do like some of that kind of video. That kind of thing. Spooky, silly. Ish. Yeah, that one was just gross, but it was kind of like Junji Ito, World of Horror kind of thing. Cronenberg. It wasn't without its merit, I think. There was something interesting about that. It was kind of like, there's a lot of like spooky, scary stories to tell at night that were like that from those books. The one that Harold's from. There's some that were just like, the big toe. One day, a big toe started growing out of the ground. So I cut it off with a giant scissor. Like, it's just like stuff like that, like weird shit. Yeah, this fucking remix of this is great. I love this version. Yeah, not my favorite. Yeah, Goosebumps does it kind of sometimes. There's a lot of like alliteration. Onomatopoeia. Shit like that. Alright, what else do we have here? What else do we have here?
Hey,
We can do this.
Hey, Horror Shorties.
Oh my god.
This sponsor is brought to you by the Netflix of Horror. For all horror.
Yeah, I wish I could get a
Chainsaw
fucking
Massacre.
Shudder
We have many
sponsorship.
titles like Color.
This channel is ridiculous.
Male living in the outskirts of the city. I personally enjoyed living in a rural area, as I found it more peaceful than living in the city.
Yeah, maybe
where it was
sometime.
often congested with hordes
My
of
Surfshark
pedestrians
sponsorship's
roaming the
over for now.
streets. The area
By the
where
way.
I resided was made up of crop fields and farmland, not the commonly seen infrastructure I was used to seeing in the city.
I've never heard this
It was
narrator
nothing
before.
but just farm animals and broad landscapes.
This is not usually the
glistening
narrator
within the
they use.
horizon. I usually was in the city.
Yeah,
for
it's
the
like
latter
Family
part
Guy.
of my day, as I
Why?
was a
My
full-time
god, that's
Uber
like
driver that worked
seizure-inducing.
close to 12 hours a day.
What the fuck?
I personally didn't like the job a whole lot, but unfortunately I didn't have much of a choice, as I needed to help my parents pay off their mortgage that was lingering over their shoulders for the last decade or so. I wasn't much of a people person, so
Stop driving
I would
so
always
fast.
drive in silence or
Fucking calm
casually have
down.
the radio playing in the background, just to ease the subtle awkwardness of a
The hair
complete
does not
stranger
match how
sitting in the
fast you're
passenger
going.
side next to me. I remember
It's
on
like
this one
they're in
particular
different
night,
fucking realities.
I was heading home from a long shift of driving a bunch of drunk college students around the city.
Yeah, I should
considering
put some
it was
initial
the
D on
weekend.
him.
The time was around 2 or 3 in the morning when I was driving through the back ends of the countryside, as it was usually the
back
quickest route
ends.
to get home. It was generally recommended not to take this direction during
Whoa.
these times, as
Just like
there wasn't many
parallaxing.
street lights around.
Looks kind of cool though.
Just tall crop fields and
Low down, man.
ahead.
Oh, that was so realistic.
What the hell was that? I remember getting out of the car and slowly approaching the front bumper just to see what the hell collided with my
It was
vehicle.
clearly a fucking deer. You saw it. It was easily sighted.
I can recall seeing a deer's body laying lifelessly on
Jesus
the dirt
Christ.
road. It was almost as if the sudden impact from my car had completely obliterated the deer's physical frame.
I don't think that's what they
into
look
a
like.
bloody matter of guts and organs scattered all over the ground. The deer was surprisingly still alive, as I could hear it wheezing in agony while its legs began twitching from the initial shock of the collision.
How is this an
I
Uber or
legitimately
fucking
felt
Lyft
sick to my stomach
horror story?
and immediately went inside my car. I didn't know if calling 911 would be the wisest decision, Considering I was young and naive, I was honestly convinced that there was a possibility that I could go to jail. That's when I ultimately decided to take matters into my own hands as I grabbed a pair of latex gloves from the glove compartment of my car. I put them on and held the deer by its legs while manually dragging the dead carcass off the side of the road. I began hearing police sirens coming from a distance.
See, like, odd
That's
fucking...
when the paranoia began settling inside my head.
What the fuck was he smoking? Did he say he smoked something?
I then went inside my vehicle and began to drive off, not caring if my car had further trampled whatever life was remaining within that deer.
Jesus.
It's just a deer. It's just a deer. Don't worry, it's just a deer. It's definitely not a hit and run. I just made an honest mistake. How the hell could it be my fault if there's no goddamn streetlights? I eventually made
He's just driving through like an actual field.
As I decided to clean the remaining blood residue lingering on the hood of my
The
car.
deer's gonna kill him when he goes to sleep,
I
I
didn't want
think.
to raise any suspicion from any onlooking neighbors, so I decided to park my car inside my garage so I could hose my car without the feeling of being watched. After several minutes of intense cleaning, I decided to quietly approach my washroom without waking up my parents. I began to fill my bathtub up with warm water, as the idea of soaking for an hour or two wouldn't hurt my chances of calming my
Yeah, the
nerves
deer's
down.
children are gonna like
The
put a
next
hit out
couple
for him.
shifts, I was able to get back
Oh,
on
it
the
is an
horse as I
Uber.
conducted
Okay.
business as usual. I honestly swept the entire deer occurrence under the rug, as I needed to get on with my life and not latch on to a simple mistake that inevitably would have happened. I decided to take an entirely alternate route and not the dark back roads when heading home. I couldn't run the risk of hitting another deer, as the guilt from the first deer still tears me to shreds internally. I remember this one night, I worked the usual graveyard hours when I picked up this one girl near a busy location in the city.
She became a deer.
She surprisingly lived in the direction of where I resided, so I figured dropping her off was a bargain one couldn't refuse. As we made our way home,
The deer's
I
daughter.
remember looking at my rearview mirror and seeing a rotting deer's head carcass laying on the
The
back
fuck?
seat of my car. That's when I slammed my foot on the gas pedal and began jetting through the freeway as the Uber customer yelled.
What the hell are you doing? Sir, can you please pull over? I want to get out. Stop the car! Stop the car! Stop it! Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Let me out of your car!
I see deer people.
That's when I abruptly swerved my car in the direction of the back roads where I had initially killed the deer. I gradually accelerated my vehicle through the field of crops and trees, while simultaneously contemplating if I was hallucinating or if my brain was playing some
Looks like she's
tricks
laughing.
on me. I then casually drew my attention towards the passenger, and I could visibly see the woman's head turn into a deer's.
I knew the deer was gonna do it.
It's just a deer. It's just a deer. Don't worry, it's just a deer. It's definitely not a hit and run. I just made an honest
So
I just made
stupid.
an honest mistake.
Oh, it was a lady the entire time. Of course it was. That doesn't even make any sense. And why would there be deer at all in this story if it was a person? I don't. No, man. All right, here we go.
It happened when I was 7 years old. There was a small wig factory in my neighborhood, and lots of hair was always rolling around in front of the factory.
What?
I could see lots of men and women busily carrying boxes into the car.
wig factory.
In addition, mannequin heads were scattered around the factory, so I sometimes played with them, kicking like a soccer ball.
What? That's
However,
so creepy.
At some point, the people who were busy working at the wig factory were not seen, and there were many days when the shutters were always closed.
You mean boarded up?
One day when I was walking by the factory with my mom, she looked at the closed factory and said, "They said wigs don't sell very well these days. I guess they're going to close the factory."
Not the wig factory.
A few days later, I was playing hide and seek with
Looked
my
like he was
friends
like
in the
sad that the
neighborhood
wig
until dinner
factory
time.
is closing. He's like,
It was a
"Well,
long winter day, so it was already dark, and I, who was a tagger, couldn't find one of my friends. When I finally gave up, he showed up and said he was hiding in the wig factory.
Not the wig
How did you
factory.
get in when the shutters were closed? When you go to the back of the door, there's a pile of boxes on the wall, and you can step on them
There's a
and
pile
go in through
of
the
wigs.
window. There was a shelf under the window.
Yeah, well, wig
so you could
factory?
step on
Are
it
you
and
kidding
come
me?
back out. I thought
Inside
it was a good
is just
idea.
people, they're shaving their heads.
And as soon as the next tagger was decided, I ran to the factory with one friend. It was very easy to step on the box and go inside, as he said. The moonlight came through the window so we could see inside the factory. Mannequin heads with wigs on them were lined on the shelves. Since they were all looking at the wall, we could only see the back of the mannequin's head.
Uh-oh.
Now that I think about it, I would have been chilled to see all the black hairs, but it would have been no big deal for
What do
a
you say? I would have been
7-year-old who
chilled?
was just distracted by hide and seek. So me and my friend waited for the tagger, giggling with each other. But there was no sign of him when
Dude,
time
they're
went
not going
by.
to come into the wig factory to look for
We
you, man.
eventually came out of the window again and decided to play one last game before going to dinner. I became a tagger again this time. After counting 10, I went around looking for my friends,
Oh,
and
but
finally,
he is-
the last two were left. I grinned and headed straight to the wig
I know
factory
where they are,
and
he
shouted as
said.
I pushed my face through the window. "I won't be fooled twice. I know you're there, so get out of there."
Oh, no. But
I
they
went to
weren't.
the window to find friends
But they
who
weren't
didn't
in there.
answer.
But they weren't.
And then I felt something different from before.
Oh,
One of the heads of the mannequins, which were all looking at the wall, was looking at me. The moment I made eye contact with it, I felt like my whole body was electrocuted, and my heart dropped because the mannequin had a torso, unlike other mannequins. I was so surprised that I started screaming and crying, but no one came to see me, as if they didn't hear me.
Yeah, same, man. Same.
The mannequin was constantly shaking from side to side or moving little by little.
Oh, it's a
spinning
hangman.
in place.
The hangman. A hangman.
When I came to my senses, I took the courage to come closer to it, and I could see its face was very pale and the eyes were unfocused. It was an old man. He was hanging from the ceiling on the pillar next to the shelf, and his face and his body were facing me as the rope turned. Being surprised,
What
I
about the noose
immediately
was made
left
out
the
of
window
wigs?
and ran home crying. I told my parents all the truth as soon as I arrived, and they also reported to the police immediately, feeling serious. My dad, who went to the factory, kept comforting me in case I was terrified and shocked.
Yeah, it was
However,
like the
I
owner
ended
of the
up
wig
suffering
factory.
from what happened that day as a nightmare for a fairly long time. Later, according to the conversation of the elders in the neighborhood, the wig factory was suffering from financial difficulties.
It was all his hair.
And the owner of the factory, who was in debt because of it, eventually closed the factory that day and hung himself.
It was closed for like fucking months.
And a suicide note was also found nearby.
It was like boarded
The
up.
corpse I saw for the first time in my immature days gave me a mental trauma.
This doesn't line up.
And after that, I could no longer watch the scene that people hang themselves in movies or dramas. Even now.
Even now. It just shows him doing that. Which one was it, man? Are you lying to me? Gonna have to say, I don't think that happens. I don't think the wig factory existed. Pretty sure. That is not a true story. All right, next story. Real fake wig factory. Yeah, guys, you all have wig factories on top of your heads. Come on. Think about it for a second. You know where the real wig factory is. It's not a place. Okay. Did we already watch this one? The Box?
My hometown is located in the countryside. I was staying at my parents' house for a while after I went to the army. One day I was drinking in front of a local convenience store
Like
with
eating
my
potato
friends.
chips?
Feeling liberated after I just got out of the army, I went around the streets with one of my friends, drinking a lot and singing with our shoulders crossed. Then I saw a white car coming in front of us.
Oh, yeah?
Soon the car window opened, and a woman in her early 30s wearing white clothes was seen.
What?
Hey, would you like to do a part-time job? She
What?
laughed and said like that. And we answered, totally drunk, how much you gonna give us? Then she gave us $100 and said, prepaid. I'll give you an extra $100 when you finish this. It was my 1-month part-time salary. Of course we accepted it on the spot, and the woman picked us up in her car. The car began to run along a nearby mountain road. There was the sound of rain and the wind blowing so hard that I could hear the leaves hitting the windows. And I still hate the sound of leaves on windy and rainy days.
What the fuck?
The car driving along the cement road pavement stood on a hillside. Suddenly, she got out of the car and took a shovel and hoe out of the trunk. Come on, guys, both of you. Get
Why
off.
is she gigantic?
And I could see her pupils were kind of loosened a little bit. Only then
She's getting
did I
bigger and
start
they're
to
getting
think
smaller?
Something was wrong. Next, she took a small box out of the car and told us to go down to the road.
This
and carry it.
perspective is so fucked.
I'll give you another $100, y'all know. I and
What?
my friend were forced to go down the road to bury the box and dig with a shovel. But as soon as we tried to bury it, the car suddenly went down really fast, like an arrow. We haven't
yeah,
even
like
received
an
our
arrow.
$100 yet, though. The rain and wind were still blowing hard and lightning was pounding, and we had no choice but to stand blankly in this sudden situation. But we got a prepayment anyway. Let's quickly bury that stupid box and go down, I said to him, but he who was staring blankly at the place where the woman disappeared for a while mumbled, "Hey, what do you think what's in this box?" He became curious as soon as she left, but I just wanted to go home quickly. I objected. However, he kept
It's a
urging
dead
me to
baby,
open
isn't it?
Then he literally opened the box immediately.
He literally opened the box.
There was a black plastic bag in the box, and there were cut fingers inside. 10 fingers. Given that the size of the fingers is small,
Dude,
I
he
thought those
literally
were
opened the
baby's
box, not
fingers.
figuratively. Oh
Being
my
terrified, I was
god.
just looking at those fingers, and he shouted,
It looks like he
"Hey,
like
this is a gold ring."
like he looks like he's like fucking gonna eat
and
them.
He insisted on taking it away since we received less money.
Yo, free
I was
fingers.
madly opposed, but my friend eventually pulled out the ring after an argument, and we buried the box in the ground and walked down. After that day, I had a bad cold and laid down for days, and my friend had not contacted me either in the meantime, which was really strange. I haven't heard from him in the last 15 days after I woke up.
15 days.
Being curious, I called his house. Then his mother answered the phone. Oh.
What?
A few days ago, he was exposed to rain and came home.
Was
a
there
few
just
days ago.
a pause?
Oh, God, what should I do? My son died yesterday.
What?
A few days ago, he was exposed to rain and came home. From that day, he kept saying that he's cold and found Dad alone in the blanket a few days after.
What?
I still regret when I think about that day. I should have day after saying that a few. My mother asked. I called his house. Then his mother answered the phone. Oh, God, what should I do? My son died yesterday. A few days ago, he was exposed to rain and came home. From that day, he kept saying that he's cold and found dead alone in the blanket a few days after. I still regret when I think about that day. I should have stopped him and reported the box to the police. I will never forget it.
That's fucking dumb. Oh, God. I need to hear her say that one more time. It's the way she says that. So stupid.
His mother answered the phone. Oh, God, what should I do?
Oh, God, what should I do?
Died yesterday.
It's so stupid. It sounds like.
Then his mother answered the phone. Oh, God, what should I do?
It sounds like South Park or something. Oh, God. It sounds like she does not care. That's good. It's... All right. What else do we have here? Look at the title to this one. It's like, what is the secret? It's just like a white
there was a
stain.
suicide by jumping from the apartment where I was living. Our apartment was a hallway-style place, and it turned out that the person deceased
Why would it be like
jumped from the hallway to a
streaked
flower
all the way
bed
down?
in broad daylight.
Doesn't make sense.
A few hours after the incident, I was on my way to the security office for a moment. I saw an old lady was standing on the sidewalk.
But it was from
and
like
she was
5 feet
looking
down.
at
That
the
doesn't make
pool of
sense.
blood that was still remained in the flower bed. Why is she looking at that? Does she relate to the dead?
Maybe like
Or
halfway
is
down
she
or
sad?
something.
Thinking like this, I was about to pass by her, but she suddenly walked over to me. Then she pointed her finger at the pool of blood and said, "You know, this is a secret. I pushed her." I suddenly got goosebumps. So I ran to the security office without even thinking of answering back her words. And when I came out, the old lady, who was still standing there, grabbed me and talked to me again as if she was waiting for me until I came out. She said it like this: "Don't tell anyone.
I did
It's
it.
our secret." The look on her face was so scary and terrifying that I just nodded, saying yes, and then ran towards home quickly. Was that true? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. That was the whole fucking story? What? That's it. I'm looking for another one.
It happened when I was in college. One of my friends rented an apartment. Although the apartment was very small and old, and the facilities were not good enough, he set his furniture and started to unpack his stuff. Since then, he kept feeling something strange for any reason. However, he was tired from moving in and he had a class the next day, so he decided to go to sleep.
For any reason.
When he was about to lie down on the bed, he heard a knocking sound on the door. Did someone come? He approached the front door, but there was no one outside. Thinking it was someone's prank, he went back to sleep. But then he heard a sound again. Knock, knock. Being annoyed, he decided to wake up and waited next to the front door to see who was knocking on his door. And no doubt he heard a knock again.
He's pissed.
However, he realized that the source
Like,
of the
I'm
sound
supposed to
was strange.
cosplay as Shaggy in the morning.
The sound was heard from the wall next to the bedroom. Next to the bedroom is the kitchen, What's in the kitchen? He went to the kitchen and looked around, but nothing was found. He got mad, so he ended up waiting in the kitchen until the sound to come out again. And this time, the sound came from his bedroom. Scared by the strange
he's
phenomenon,
pissed.
he went out of the apartment and looked inside the
It
house.
was a mess.
The lights in all the rooms were on except for one window. And there was a window in the space that he thought was just a wall. The window was between the kitchen and the bedroom.
Window to the wall.
He was curious, so went back into the apartment and began to find a way to get into it. He knocked on the wall of the bedroom to find where the door was, but he couldn't find any strange parts. And it was just the same of the kitchen. Finally, the last place he looked for was the stairs. He slowly walked up the stairs, knocking on each wall. Soon, a clear sound was heard. Out of curiosity, he ripped the wallpaper off that
Out of
part and looked
curiosity.
inside, but the inside was blocked with a window. It was so dark that he could not see anything inside. In addition, he eventually felt strange, so he ended up sleeping in his girlfriend's house that day. Then the next morning, he went back to the room with his girlfriend. When he lit the inside with a flashlight, he could see the completely worn, rusty bed, a broken toilet, and sink.
Damn.
As soon as he saw the window, there was a white bone in old clothes. The two ran out screaming in fear and reported to the police. They arrived soon after and ripped off all the secret room, and one body was found inside that was rotten and left only a bone. Later, it turned out that the body was a man who went missing around the time this apartment was built. He was rumored to have raped the constructionist's daughter, and the owner always would say that he's going to get revenge for her. The police investigated the owner after that man's missing. However, since there was no evidence, he was soon released and then died shortly after. The police reported that the man had scratched the wall so that his fingernails were all broken, and the wall was covered with blood.
Oh.
But I still have one question that cannot be solved. So, who made that knocking sound in his apartment?
Who was phone? Who was phone? Bum, bum, bum. We'll never know. We may never know who was phone. All right, let's do one more. One more thing. Or two. Bum, 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 bum. Number one. I need to find some other channels at some point. At some point. Bum, bum.
Here you can actually see the ears, you can see the eyes.
What do you see in this picture? Two Georgia men claim they've stumbled across a Bigfoot corpse, and this is their proof. 2 photos. So is this Bigfoot or a big fat lie? Tom Biscardi, the head of a Bigfoot search team, strongly believes what Matt Witten and Rick Dyer have found is the real thing.
I was just in shock.
I've seen this guy
For
before.
about 4 hours for what I had seen. What I seen, what I touched, what I felt, what I prodded was not a mask that was sewn on a bear hide.
You just
Dyer,
like sound like
along
you
with
like
fellow
fucking
Bigfoot tracker
had
Matt
a
Whitney,
date with
say
it.
they stumbled across this Bigfoot corpse in the woods of North Georgia.
What I
When we
kissed,
discovered
what
it,
I smelled, what I touched.
I waited with it. Rick went back and got some help and got a truck, and we moved it out of there.
Whitten and Dyer don't really appreciate the cynics, particularly skeptical reporters who questioned the find.
This is as real as you're standing right where you are, sir.
But with no more than these two photos backing up their claim, it's easy to see how some might need a little more proof. The two men acknowledge they wouldn't mind making a few bucks from the discovery, but right now, they say it's stuffed in a freezer. Mike Gracia, The Associated Press.
You guys believe that? Is there such a thing? We got skunk ape footage here. What do you think? I don't know. Like him walking around a field. What? He's him? Yeah, I don't know about that. It looks not very big. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Does Bigfoot have a family? This grainy picture from an Arizona Department of Transportation traffic cam has some asking. On their Facebook page, the agency posted the mysterious photo and asked if it could possibly be a Sasquatch family standing in the snow. Reaction to the post was mixed. Some thought it was funny. Others could relate. This guy came up with a practical explanation. So did the traffic cam really get a family portrait of Bigfoot's family? Thousands of likes, shares, and comments later, the jury is still out.
Real evidence. Yeah, that music was funny for that. Nothing else there that I really want. I'll do like one more video. All right, here we go.
The year was around 2012 when I got a call from my friend Max saying that a convicted murderer had just been transferred to a nearby prison where he would remain until his death penalty was carried out. It was a hideous crime, but like every other criminal, He insisted that he was innocent, saying that the mountain devil was the one behind all of it. Max suggested that I come over and write an article about this event. So Max arranged the time for me to go meet the criminal, whose name was Roger. When he and I first met, my impression of him was quite different. Something about him drew my interest, so I listened to what he had to say. He appeared to be very worn out, and I felt compelled to help him. Perhaps I could save him from certain death. Roger went on and on about his story, a story filled with horror. He began from the very beginning, explaining what happened on that tragic day. Roger said that he was a mine worker, working on a project near the Mexican border. Roger was part of a 5-man crew, whose job was to dig tunnels to expand the mine. Their mission for the day was to find more iron ore and transfer it to the outside of the mine by the end of the day. There were many other groups of miners in the tunnels. It was on this day that Roger's team was tasked with the responsibility of exploring new caves and new mine tunnels. The inside was pitch black, and the workers had only small flashlights to find their way around. The work was dangerous, so they sent robots in to assess the conditions of the mine. They soon discovered that the walls on the tunnels were too hard, made of stone, and therefore Roger decided that they needed to find a new way to dig. Otherwise, it would take them too long to complete their task. Upon further inspection, they noticed that one of the nearby walls where they were digging was different, soft, not dry like the other walls inside.
Oh my God.
They all decided to use shovels, picks, whatever they could use, as all the workers began moving more and more soil from this area. And that's where this whole grisly story began to take shape. In that very instance, a wall inside the cave collapsed. And then
There's just like chilling in there.
Another extremely large cave behind it. Everyone seemed to be amused and excited about their new discovery. But as they hurriedly ran closer to get a better look, they found many animal carcasses, dead bones, and insects all around. The air was stuffy and moist, with a stench of death. Suddenly, a series of hideous screams were heard coming from beneath all areas of the mine. In that moment of terror and confusion, people began panicking, trying to find a way out. But in their desperation, they got turned around, disoriented and lost. And with so many other tunnels, they couldn't figure out which direction would lead them out of the mine. Roger pulled one of the other workers aside and asked him to make a signal for the other members of his team to follow. When suddenly, he lost sight of Karim. And then 2 other people from the group disappeared. When Roger turned around, he could only see Nolan running towards him, out of breath and looking very pale. As they continued running a while longer, Roger suddenly saw a light at the end of the cave, believing that it might be a way out. The screams were getting closer and louder, and they echoed throughout the entire cave structure. But as they continued to search for the light that they believed would lead them out of the tunnel, Roger suddenly realized that the light was a deception caused by the creature to draw us closer. And as everyone continued running, a monstrous creature appeared right before their eyes, suddenly
like
showing its sharp teeth. It had 4 long legs. Each foot came with razor-sharp nails and claws, and with a long, whipping tail. Roger and his friend were running for their lives, frightened and screaming for help, but the beast continued chasing after them. They knew they couldn't give up, with Roger's friend following close behind. He stumbled and fell to the ground.
It just looks like a cat on
Instantly
steroids.
grabbed by the monster, killing him at once. And all Roger could do was watch as his friend was being ravenously torn apart by this hideous monster. The only thing Roger could do now was run for his life as fast as he could. When all of a sudden, Roger heard a loud call. Looking back, it was Karim, his face covered in blood, and his head had been sliced open with a sharp rock. Karim explained that he was being chased by this monster, and somehow, by the grace of God, he narrowly escaped. However, his leg was seriously injured. They were determined to save their lives. They had to get out of there. Just as Roger was about to speak, Karim put his hand over Roger's mouth, instructing him to be quiet. He realized that the monster was nearby, sniffing around, looking for them. Roger knew the only way out was on the front side of the mine. But the monster was too close, and Roger had to create some kind of a decoy to try to distract the monster and make their escape. Then, Roger remembered that he still had that robot in his backpack. Roger began to remove it from his backpack ever so quietly and put his plan into action. It worked. The beast, being distracted by the robot, began chasing it. But it was so fast that when he caught up to it, he realized that it was only a trick and turned around and saw Roger and Karim as the beast began its deadly death.
Why would they be standing there still?
Was screaming and running after them. And Roger knew his only chance of escape was to beat that cellar door open so that he could escape. But as he continued pounding on the cellar door with the shovel, it caused a landslide. Roger, having escaped just a few steps ahead of his friend, the rocks began to tumble down like an avalanche, burying his friend behind him. Finally, in that moment of panic, Roger ran straight out to find some workers nearby to help him. After sitting down and talking with Roger for quite a long time, something about his appearance piqued my interest. I could see by the sweat running down his forehead and face, trembling with his
that was like a
words.
solid snake
I
death
began to
throw. He was like,
believe that there was more to the story.
For like a minute.
Sometime later, I met with Max and I asked him for more information about the case. Max told me that there was a camera that recorded Roger and Karim running out of the cave together, and it showed a scene of Roger pushing Karim back into the cave. With this kind of evidence, it's almost impossible to exonerate what could turn out to be an innocent man.
What the fuck?
Everyone was accusing Roger of causing the landslide.
Why is that
with
guy's
the
hair
shovel,
moving?
causing the barrier to break and collapse, killing his friend. The bodies of the rest of the dead workers were pulled out by the rescue team, but there was no evidence of any monster being described. The police, following the evidence, presumed that Roger must have killed all the other people. Were these the rants of a madman trying to save himself from the inevitability of a death sentence for a crime that he may not have committed? Or were these just the words of an unstable witness, as the police described in their records? So what really did happen that day? I can tell you one thing for certain, that not only the villagers, but Roger himself believed in what he was telling me. Was this evidence built upon some kind of trick photography? Was there a police cover-up? Did someone
really
else
died
commit the
that
crime
day?
that
Who came
conveniently
back?
fell onto the shoulders of the accused? I believe there's much more to this story.
Also, it looks like
And
fucking
as an
young Francis
investigative
Morgan.
reporter, I have seen my share of things that I cannot explain. And as I lie in bed at night, thinking of these things, was this a real case? Or was this some kind of undiscovered, mutated creature from the bowels of this earth, unknown to science?
Yo, I gotta
Or
favorite
was it
this channel,
just a
apparently.
hallucination?